All right, so going right into video 2, we have all of these parts here. I did say I want to have more parts, so I'm going to grab this thing. Let's grab this thing. Let's actually talk a little bit about kind of moving this thing around. If I grab a part like this, I can. If I click this little center, this is my little like movement option, movement options for this thing. I can grab it and I can kind of drag it in different distances, or if I grab this little square, I can move it around and I can turn it and I can do kind of really whatever I want to this piece to move it around in space. I'm going to go through and I'm going to make a few copies of it. Let's add in a few more pieces to our work here. We can see on the left side, so if I zoom this out a little, there's a little better. These are all the different parts that I have in my assembly. So this is my current assembly, and I have a whole bunch of parts that I'm putting together in there. Each one of these parts, this is like my main assembly. Each little part in like this L298 or mechanism left and right, they're actually their own assembly. So it's like I have a big assembly, and then I have what these are called sub-assemblies. And let's see, I think I grabbed these parts. Actually, I think I might have copied these in a... there's maybe a better way I could copy them. Actually, I'm going to delete these. I don't like that these are parts. So I'm going to click over here. I'm going to click TT motor. I'm going to select the assembly from here, hit copy, and then paste. I'm going to get some assemblies out of this. And now we can see these 4 assemblies are all linked. There's some cool stuff you can do with that. So the fact that they're all linked kind of means you can do some interesting stuff. If you change one, it'll change all 4 of them. So we'll maybe get into that a little bit later. Let's see, I need another one of these. So I'm going to copy one of those. Copy one of those. L298, I need another one of those. All right, so just have all the parts that I need. Okay, so I do want to pull up this drawing a little bit because it's like a major idea in our robotics. Like if we see, especially in our CAD of robotics, we grab this thing right now, we can move these things anywhere. This means that it has the ability to move a part around is referred to in technical terms as a degree of freedom. Every single part we have has 6 potential degrees of freedom. Basically what that means is, like, for each one, well, if we go back over maybe to this document, I think this visual can be helpful, we can move it. The 6 different degrees of freedom are the different ways that we can move the part or rotate the part. There's 3 ways we can move it. There's 3 ways that we can rotate it. We can move it along like in the X, the back and forth, left and right direction. We can move it forward and back in the Y direction, or up and down in the Z. We can also rotate it in all those different directions as well. So these are all the degrees of freedom. So this right now, this part has 6 degrees of freedom. It can move anywhere it wants. Especially in kind of in relation to another part, it has 6 degrees of freedom. What we want to do is reduce the degrees of freedom until the 2 parts are maybe locked to each other, or maybe have only just a very limited number of degrees of freedom. In our case, we're going to get them so they have 0 degrees of freedom. We want one part to exactly be matched onto another. And this is where I think we get into the fun part of doing fusion. So, or excuse me, doing OnShape and doing some CAD stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to add in some mate features. So in here, if we're looking across the top row in our assembly, we can start mating things together. So in here, let's see, I want to put, if we look at our motors, maybe I'll go back to that other view. I want to, where's my test? I want to have these motors attached onto this chassis, and I really want them to be stuck there so that if I move the chassis, everything's going to go with it. I think if I grab this thing, hopefully everything's all kind of locked together. I can move one and all the rest are going to move with it. So that's really what I want. Let's go back into our OnShape and we're going to go through that. So here are all the different options we have for mating 2 things. We can fasten them, revolute, slider, planar. I might do a little bit in maybe the next video about some of these other ones, but let's just talk about the fasten mate for now. Fasten mate is it removes all degrees of freedom between 2 entities. So let's click that. What we want to say is basically, I want to get this, we'll start with the motor. I want this motor secured to this chassis in such a way that it kind of lines up just right. So I can see there in these holes, and you can maybe look at your physical document, physical piece, but I really want this piece locked onto here. So what I need to do is choose like one piece of geometry from the motor and one piece of geometry from the chassis to kind of link together. So what we're going to say down here is we are going to say, I think for this chassis, I think this piece right here, this little circular part on our motor, that's a really good piece to grab. And then I could say, I really want this to be, that geometry should be attached onto this geometry. And we can see that it's going to click those 2 pieces together. So I've done a fasten mate, and those 2 are now kind of linked together. If I hit OK for right now, let's go ahead and just kind of put them exactly together, and that'll be it. But I do want to kind of move this around a little bit. Sometimes we have a couple options we can mess with as we do our mates. We can press like flip primary axis. Sometimes these things kind of come together in the wrong spot. We can flip them. So that's kind of like mirroring them across whatever plane that we're working with. We can also revolve them. So I think in this case, we really want to revolve them. And if we say check, we can see that our first piece is in place. When we see it's very nice and flush there, we should be able to, I think, if we maybe look on the other side here, we can look right down these holes and see they're exactly lined up. And there's also a little gap for that nub that sticks out on the motors. For navigation-wise, got to use a mouse in here. I don't know how I would do this without a mouse. With a mouse, we can do our scroll wheel to go in and out. We can hit our right button to hold down the right button to rotate around. We can hold down the mouse button to kind of grab the page and then shift it back and forth, up and down to move things around. But we're going to go through it and we're going to attach a few more pieces together. So let's grab a motor. All right, as we grab our motor, I'm trying to make sure I hit all the most important parts. I'm going to grab this thing and drag it kind of out of the way. We can grab these parts and drag them kind of wherever we want. Oh, we've got a lot of parts. One thing you'll find that's I think is kind of odd with OnShape is that if we click one part and click another, it'll select both. Sometimes in Fusion, I think it would switch from one piece to the other. But in this case, we will select both of them. So you got to be careful that you're only selecting one thing at a time. And your cursor will tell you how many things you have clicked. All right, so let's get into a little bit more of this. All right, so let's get some of our pieces tied together. So I have one motor. I'm going to do the other motor. I'll do one more motor on screen, and then I'll do the other ones off screen. So I think you'll get the point. We're going to hit fasten. Actually, I'm going to do one incorrectly. So I'm going to say I'm going to grab, let's say I'm going to grab like, I'm going to grab this, and then I'm going to find another spot. I really find it helpful to like zoom in and out on this and kind of rotate around. I'm going to say it should go like right here. Oh, so our thing's messed up for a couple different reasons. One, you can see it's kind of sticking out. It's like on the wrong side of this thing, right? On the wrong side of the chassis. It's kind of like embedded and enmeshed in there. So I could flip axis, and then I could see it's kind of over here. But really, I ultimately just chose the wrong geometry. So I can flip it and I can rotate it, but it's really not lined up correctly with where I want it to go. Even if I rotate it further around, it's just I chose the wrong spot. So there's two different things we could do. One, if let's say, there's two different things we can do. If we notice it right away, we can go into here and we can just unclick one of these mates to get rid of the part that, get rid of the mate we don't want. So we could say something like, no, I didn't really mean to mount it on there. Let's get rid of that. So I do want this part on the chassis, but actually should be mounted to right here. So, oh, that looks good. That's one way I could do it. Just kind of in the moment, I can see that I did it wrong, and I could fix it that way. Let's say I didn't notice that. One other option we can do is I can, let's say I attached it onto like here, and I said, check, done, great. Oh, messed up. I realized I messed up too late. If I look down on the left side here, there's a list of all of our sub-assemblies, and then also all of our mate features. So we can like identify which mate we have. We can see if, by default, they're going to be hidden. We can view them like this, and it'll kind of highlight and show where they're at. I can go through and I can edit this one afterwards and then delete the part that I don't want. So I don't like, that was not the right part. Not the right spot. So let me get rid of that. Let me get rid of the mate connector on the chassis there, and I'm going to select this one to get it correct. Oh, again, still on the wrong side. So let's flip the primary axis. Oh, not quite right. Let's rotate it around. And then boom, we got it in the right spot right there. I can hide this again so I have all my fastness showing, but that's looking pretty good. So I'm going to move on. I'm going to do the other two. You can do them on your own, and then we'll come back for the next piece. Actually, while I'm doing the next one, the couple of things we could do, I was choosing this piece as my, I really like this spot. I thought that was a good kind of representation of like two things that are going to be touching in the model that I want. I could also, though, say something like maybe the screw hole here. Selecting that screw hole in the middle, and then I could also say that's a good kind of reference point to fit onto here. And then, oh, this one just makes it a little bit trickier because I gotta figure out, gotta choose the top one or the bottom one. So if I rotate that around, I think, now I gotta rotate that around a little bit more, rotate it around a little bit more. Now I messed that one up, right? I chose the wrong screw hole. So we can go in here and get rid of that and say, nah, I really meant this screw hole up here, solve, and then we say done. And then we have our other motor mounted on there. Other things that might go wrong as we're selecting these motors, let's see if I grab this thing and move it. Let's see what else could go wrong. It's sometimes And these ones, the geometry is a little bit easier to deal with. Sometimes this thing will select like weird spots. You can see here, if I'm grabbing this part, it might try and like select weird mating points on here, and that might kind of mess you up. These are like simple enough, but if you were to deal with more in robotics, in like FTC robotics, you might run into some issues with these things not exactly snapping to the right spot so easily. But this actually works out pretty well. All right, so I'm gonna do the rest and move on. Actually, I'm gonna do the whole next little bit. Like we can put the motors on. The motor should go right up here. I'm not gonna go through that on screen, but I'll show you the aftermath. Oh, I'm gonna do everything except for the wheels. We'll do the wheels in a separate video. Quick one while I'm doing this. I'm just kind of attaching all my motors on there. Notice I'm putting the L298s right on here. I got this little chassis board on here. Sometimes I find it like, I can't quite figure out where my thing's at. I know I need like an L298. I need one of these motor drivers. Like I can't quite find it on the screen. I don't know. I don't see where it is. We can always right click on a part in here and then go to, we should have a zoom to selection. And this one will kind of move the mirror, move the window over there. And what's kind of cool is like, it doesn't really matter where these parts are at on the screen, because when we fasten them, we're going to choose like this mate, and then we're going to choose, let's see, I think I want to do that one over here. Yeah, it's automatically going to move them there, so it doesn't really matter if they're off the screen or not. As long as I can find them and get some geometry to work with, I can put this on there. All right, so we're going to stop there. It looks like I have one extra motor in here. Ended up with 4 of these. Let's see, so I'm just going to go through and delete the one I don't need. Oh, it's the original. All right, bye-bye. Yeah, so I'll delete that part and then move into the next video. And we'll do some wheels and then we'll do some custom pieces.